Hey, what's up guys, and welcome to the video. Today's vehicle is a 2006 GMC Sierra 2500 HD. It's in for a full detail, so let's have a look around. Alright, so it's very clear the interior of this truck hasn't been cleaned in quite some time. So along with the usual dirty floor mats, there's a fair bit of dirt, dust, and other debris around the entire truck. But not only that, we've got a good amount of pet hair to deal with, and the second I lifted the back seats up, I knew they were going to have to come out, because the carpets underneath them had all kinds of nasty stains that'll need to get out with the Bissell. Now, taking a quick look outside, and like most of the vehicles I see, there's a healthy amount of dirt around the entire truck, especially on the wheels and the running boards. And now, just before we jump into the video, take a quick second and subscribe to the channel. I post a new video every Friday, so make sure you've got the bell on so you get notified each week when those videos go live. Alright guys, it's time to get started on transforming this truck, so sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alright, so as we get started on the pre-wash rinse here, I figured I would just let you know again quick, in case you didn't catch the last video, that I've recently switched over to using an electric pressure washer for the rest of winter here. The unit I picked up is a 2.5 horsepower Bertolini pressure washer that moves 2 gallons per minute at 1900 psi. So if any of you are curious, it's linked down in the description right at the top. But basically there were a number of factors that went into the decision, most notably noise and ventilation for the gas pressure washer that I normally use, though it's just temporary as I'll switch back over to my Honda once I can wash outside again in a few months. Now moving to the back here, and you'll notice this tailgate has been sprayed with a spray and bed liner material like Line-X, which you definitely don't see too often. So I can only guess that the owner probably tows a fair bit with this truck and didn't want the tailgate completely covered with rock chips, so they opted for a super durable finish. And to be honest, it actually looks kind of decent on this truck. Now as far as cleaning it goes though, I'll still treat it like the rest of the vehicle and spray it off and then wash and dry it, but obviously I won't be waxing it later. Now luckily for me, with this being a 2006 model year, GM hadn't started using carpeted Wheelwell liners yet, so I can get these sprayed out super quick, and I'll make sure to get the lip sprayed out really well, as that's an easy place for road salt to sit and start to rust out a vehicle. Now one of the coolest things I've got in my detailing arsenal is this undercarriage sprayer, which as you can see makes it super easy to spray off the underside of the truck, which is really important for any vehicle in a northern climate where the roads are salted. So if you guys are curious where you can get one, I've got the link down in the description, so feel free to check it out if you're interested. They're very reasonably priced and tons of fun to use. Alright, so if any of you out there have been thinking about picking up a foam cannon, I would highly recommend going with one from Amazon, just like the one I'm using, as it's every bit as good as the ones that cost 3 or 4 times the price, and it's capable of producing nice thick foam, as you can see. I always just use a few ounces of my regular car wash soap in the bottle and it works great. Alright, so with the truck drip drying a bit, I'm turning my attention to all the dirty floor mats, and I'll first start by spraying them off to get as much dirt and grime off as possible, and then I'll follow up with some all-purpose cleaner and my soft wheel brush to get them nice and clean. And if any of you were curious, and I know there's a few of you who will be, the shoes that I'm wearing right now are Vessi's and are completely waterproof, so that's really nice as it's next to impossible to keep water from splashing on my feet while I'm detailing, which isn't really an issue when I wear flip-flops, but with socks and shoes on, it's just not very nice having wet feet inside your shoes. Alright, turning to the interior, and the first thing I always do is remove any of the customer's personal items that were left behind. And if you guys are curious, I always just collect them in a bag and then leave that bag in the back seat when I'm done with the vehicle. And the reason I don't put everything back is because I've heard from many of my customers that they were very glad they had the chance to go through everything, because in a lot of cases I find things in the vehicle they didn't even know were there, so they're very appreciative of that. Now, like I mentioned in the opening, after seeing some of the stains underneath these back seats, I knew they had to come out because there would have been no way to get the Bissell on some of them if they had stayed in the vehicle. Alright, so before I get started on the piles of debris on the floor, I'll work my way top down with the vacuum and a boar's hair detail brush, which does a really good job of getting any dirt or dust lifted out of all the cracks and into the vacuum. Looking at the imprints in the carpets from where the seat frame was sitting, and it's really clear why they needed to come out, as it seems like most of the stains in these carpets were right up against or even slightly under the frame, Not to mention a fair bit of dirt and debris was underneath there as well that I would have never been able to reach. Here's all the dirt, debris, and hair that my vacuum sucked out of this truck. I have to say it's quite a bit more than I thought there was. Alright, time to turn all these stains in these carpets, and for anyone out there who is curious, I'm just using a regular pump sprayer to get the carpet solution down, and then after it's sat for about 2 to 3 minutes so it can penetrate the stains, I'll go over it with the drill brush to get everything suspended and lifted out of the fibers so that the Bissell can then suck it all away. Here's a quick before and after shot on this section of carpet, and it truly looks brand new again. Now I have to say that getting to work on a vehicle with lighter colored carpets is definitely more enjoyable than one with black carpets, since I can see where the stains are a lot easier and the visual impact that extracting makes is even greater, so the lighter carpets definitely provide more satisfaction to me than darker ones. Now after I've made a first pass over the entire section, I'll usually switch directions and make another pass, and the reason for that is because the carpet fibers typically lay in one direction, usually front to back, so going side to side on them just helps to make sure I can get all the dirt and solution out. Typically each section of carpet that I work on, I'll make anywhere from 3 to 6 passes, spraying water the entire time, and then I'll do one final pass where I'm just extracting to get as much of the water out as possible. Now as I suck away more of the nasty stains in this carpet with the Bissell here, I figured I would let you know that the links to almost every product and tool that I use, including the Bissell, the drill brush, and carpet solution I'm using, are down in the description, so feel free to check those out. And if any of you have been looking to pick up an extractor, I would highly recommend the Bissell Spot Clean Professional. I've definitely used mine way more than the average person ever would, and it's still working perfectly, but not to mention it really can't be beat for the price. Here's one of the nastiest looking buckets of water that I've ever pulled from a vehicle before. Now I wanted to show you a tool that I occasionally use, and that's a tornado, which is hooked up to my air compressor, and basically what this does is it blows compressed air, which is helpful for getting dirt or debris out of cracks, crevices, or other hard to reach areas, but it also gives you the ability to spray cleaning solution at the same time. So I've got some APC diluted 10:1 in the container, and I'll go around just like I usually would and spray this all around all the cracks and the crevices, and then simply wipe things down with a microfiber towel. Now of course, if you've seen any of my other videos, you know you can do the same thing with a detail brush, and in a lot of cases that's the better method, as the tornado offers no agitating ability if you run into something that's a little grimy. So this isn't something I use very often, but can definitely save you a little bit of time in certain areas of a vehicle. Now for the seat frames, I'm using some all-purpose cleaner diluted 10:1 and simply wiping them down with a microfiber towel, as they really weren't dirty enough to warrant using the steamer on them. Now for these dirty pedals, I'll bust out the McCulloch steamer and blast it with steam and the stiff bristle detachment to get them nice and clean. And I know I've seen a few people ask recently why I don't do the pedals before I extract the carpets. And the reason is because when I use the drill brush on the carpets, it tends to fling solution all over the place. so if they were already clean, I would just have to repeat work. It only takes a second to lay a towel down underneath and ensures the carpets stay clean. Now, one more perk of having these seats out of the truck is that I can clean and condition the leather a little bit easier. So spraying on some of my Meguiar's D181 leather cleaner, I'm using my soft horsehair brush to agitate. And I'm not sure if you can tell, but the foam was turning a light shade of brown, which means these seats were actually pretty dirty. And you might also notice that I'm making sure to get underneath the headrest and around the cup holders too. And I've probably mentioned before, but that's just one of those things that I couldn't ever skip over. Even if my customers haven't ever moved that headrest or pulled down the cup holders for years and wouldn't ever know that I did it, it's just not in my nature to ever cut corners, and I always try to deliver perfection with my details. Now with the seats nice and clean, I'll then apply some conditioner to keep this leather nourished and feeling soft and supple. Now to dress and UV protect all the interior trim, I'm applying some 303 aerospace protectant with a microfiber applicator pad, and if it looks a little bit shiny when I'm applying it, that's simply because it's wet and there's light shining on it. But once it dries, it will leave a nice, non-slippery, non-greasy, and matte finish that will leave the interior looking brand new. So if you're curious, I've got the link to it down in the description. So if you like to detail your own car, I would highly recommend picking up a bottle. Now as far as wax removal goes, it's pretty straightforward, but one thing I always do is flip my towel to a new side every panel or two, and that's because the fibers will get full of residue, and once they're full, they'll just start to push the residue around on the paint. So by flipping to a new section and using about 2 to 3 towels on the entire vehicle, you reduce the chance of seeing a streak mark later on, and it just makes the removal process a lot easier. Now for any exterior plastic trim like on these running boards, I'll always apply some 303, which is going to revive any trim that's faded and really make it pop. All right, and 11 hours later, I've got this black on black Sierra looking absolutely sick. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you smash the thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Enjoy the guitar outro, and I'll see you guys in the next one.